All right, welcome to the Colman Power Organic Fitness Podcast. I have my latest guest on with me here. He is a whole lot of fun. Some would say he's actually my brother. He's very similar to me, that's for sure. They call him the Mad Joke on the likes of Instagram. And I'd just like to let you know, Brian, welcome to the show.
Colman, how are you? Pleased to meet you. Pleasure to be on the show. You're looking well.
Oh, thanks so much. So is Brian. Most certainly, we can dabble a little bit upon Brian being a single farmer. Most certainly, just after coming back from recording of the likes of a dating show that he was on. We won't get into that just yet, maybe later on. So, Brian, I want you to suppose give the likes of maybe the listeners a little bit of a background of who you are, what you do, and we already have to tell the listeners that you're single. Actually, there's two of us in it. We could set up our own dating show, really. I'm separate to this.
Should turn this into a dating show, Colman.
So this could be right crack. It was say no more.
Sack the cabbage. We'll go dating.
Quit the day jobs.
Background, Colman. I'm 36 years old. I got into farming 3 years ago. Never farmed in my life. I'm a townie. I'm a city boy. I grew up in Galway City. I did construction management in college. I then went on to didn't suit me. I fell into the family business and got into sales and sales management in the furniture industry. That was grand. I was fairly good at it. I could talk. So I got on well there for about 13, 14 years. But I don't know. I grew tired of it. I was looking for a change, something different. There was not a lot of talk at the time around and still is talk about global warming, climate change, the food system being a little bit wobbly, and just so I said, I had a couple of acres available to me at the time in East Galway, and after a couple of months off from the old job, I suppose a few things happened in life, and just by accident I kind of got into farming. Actually, no, I'll tell you exactly what happened. I signed up to a 10-day permaculture design course in My Hill Farm, which is near Lahinch, County Clare. Yeah. And in fairness, I think that's where the seed was planted. Excuse the pun, but that's exactly where the seed was planted. I came away from that kind of going, do you know what? This is class. I like this lifestyle. I like the philosophy of what I was being taught. It was ran by a chap called Richard Perkins, who's a very, very successful farmer over in Sweden and educator as well. So after that, I was like, fuck it, you know what? Maybe I'll give this a go. And that kind of but I still wasn't certain on it. I needed a bit of hands in the ground, a little bit of time in the dirt to figure it out. So I went over. I followed Richard over to Sweden. He did an internship then a few months later. So autumn 2019, I packed my bags, went to Sweden. 2 months out there, working like a dog for in different enterprises, from cattle to sheep to poultry to veggies and fruit. And there I learned how to. I suppose you didn't learn in great depth, but you got a good idea. You got a good sense of everything, how it's ran. But the key element was, how can I make money out of this? Treat it like an actual business, not the typical farmer nowadays where they're just totally reliant on subsidies. I wanted to treat this like a business. I came from a business background, and to me, it's just another business. But the difference is I'm producing food and selling that for a profit. So came back. 2020, literally as soon as we heard the word COVID, I had the arse down, and I was going hell for leather at it, building a market garden there in Galway, and a lot of work in the first year. You have to create a brand, you have to create a website, you have to create a garden, you have to buy the seed, buy the materials, the tools, you name it. Like, there was money going out left, right, and center. It was,
and you had no previous experience of growing. Like, I'm growing about 7 years now, and I did the whole shebang in college and everything. So no previous experience. No. You're going setting up a market garden, sowing seeds after spending 2 months out with Paddy Perkins, as I like to call him, over there. And that was your background, didn't it?
That's it, boy. That's why I'm Mad Joke Farm.
And that's why I like you. That's why I absolutely love you. Like, that is great. That's what they like to call going gung-ho at it. And I'd like to know, right straight away, so what are the things that went horribly wrong and things that went really well? I just want to know simply about the likes of growing. I'm so interested in this. Like, go on.
How long do you have? What can you say? So first year. So to begin, I've no customers. That's the first thing. That's the first problem. You know, you're there, you're planting up half an acre of vegetables, and you're like, uh, Jesus. All I had was obviously my family, a few mates, and they're all couldn't wait. Like, sure, it was great because they're all sitting at home doing nothing because it was COVID time. But after that, you get very very friendly with social media. So that was I was very dependent on social media. Instagram being my preferred choice of advertisements, and you just keep plugging away at it, and it's not something I would have ever done in the past. So I like once again had to learn all about that as well. Like ordering seed. How much seed do I get? Sure, I haven't a clue. You're guessing. How many carts will I sell this summer? Sure, I haven't a notion. Yeah, no. Everything you're doing, you're guessing like. Yeah, it's all guesswork in the first year. Then you have to get hold of a bit of a van. You have to then I had to get department approved. The Department of Agriculture were down to me in the first literally the first 2 weeks of me selling my first carrot. They were down top of me, like, so I had to get all that paperwork up to order, up to standard. I was trying to, it was going like hell. I was setting up markets as well. So I couldn't officially get into the official Galway City market because they were just fully booked. And there's an awful, how can I put it? In the Galway City market, if you have a product and that product's already in the market, you can't get in that market. So here am I with vegetables. There's obviously a vegetable seller in the Galway City market. So I was like, all right, screw that. I can't get in there. So my plan B was I'll set up a market outside of the city market in 4 different locations so north, south, east, and west of Galway City. I'll set up a market and we'll call it my market, Mad Yoke Farm Market. So I set up markets all around satellite towns outside of Galway, and I just basically stood there every week, told my followers then, that could have been 300 people, 500 people, 1,000 people, here, listen, I'm outside Barna now, outside this hotel, and I have got this, that, and the other, and it just came out of the ground in the last 12 hours. Come down and give us a go. It's you won't be disappointed, sort of thing. So but you just stay on it. You just stay on it. You mightn't get 20 euros in your arse pocket going home that day, but the next day you'll get 30, and the next day you'll get 60. You just keep going. You never give in. But at the end of the first year, it was, the progress was there. I was completely knackered. I suppose the numbers were growing. Like, there was definitely more people showing up. The word of mouth was spreading. And I suppose we learned. I suppose we learned a lot of mistakes as well, and regarding our the climate and what grows well in our field and what didn't grow well, and what people liked and what they didn't like. And I suppose you come away with the idea that just keep it fairly simple. Like in Ireland, we don't like too many exotic vegetables. We love the carrots, we love the spuds, we love the onions, and we love the tomatoes. Like I was kind of bringing veg ideas from Sweden with me, trying them out in Galway, and they just weren't moving. Like, but then saying that, then the restaurants, I love them. I also picked up restaurant business as well. And in fairness, that kind of organically grew. One restaurant would buy my, I'd knock on a couple of doors and I get 1 or 2 customers from restaurateurs, and then just word of mouth. Like, they're all connected. Like, all these chefs, they all know each other, and they're all like, Jesus, try out this Mad Yoke Farm. He's got some deadly carrots. He's got the orange and the purple and the white and the yellow carrots. They look class on the plate. So then all of a sudden I get a couple of chefs ringing me looking for my carrots, and I said, "We'll try out my salad as well, like just top class." And it all kind of, excuse the pun again, it grows organically. But I suppose the key element for me was, and what separates me from the crowd, is I just did a ferocious amount of pop-up markets all around Galway. Like last year I did, you could say I did the guts of 600 markets in 6 months. Like, there's lads that wouldn't do that in a lifetime. And each and every time was either an hour or 2 hour stop, and the queues got bigger each and every time, So it was great. It was a great way of meeting the customer. It was a great way of building relationships with them. You get to know them by name. You get to know the children. You get to know what they eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's good cash flow.
Yeah.
So you're building your brand. You're getting to know people, and them customers are for life. They really, really respect what you're doing. You're not going to get everyone. You're going to make mistakes along the way. Like, everyone had different ideas, and the ideas were great, but the problem in farming is it's so hard to turn them ideas into actual events, because you're always so limited on time, because you're farming. You have to go back after the market, you have to put away you have to
Put
clean
everything
down the
in the
van, you
shelf,
have to get
clean.
ready for the next day. It's never ending. I was doing 100-hour weeks every week, and even this year now, I don't know when I last had a day off. It's 7 days a week. It's crazy. It's crazy. So you have
It
to
is.
be a little bit tapped in the head to do it.
Yeah, and I suppose we've been similar, like-minded. I just want to ask you this specific question with the suppose people that you met along the way, or maybe your own thoughts on this point. Do you think the people actually value the food that they're actually getting, whether it's the eggs you supply, whether it's the salads, whether it's the carrots that are multicolored, that are grown without the likes of harsh chemicals or synthetic fertilizers? Do you think that people actually value the food?
They definitely do. They definitely do. I won't say it was clear that I got like maybe, so how many's in Galway? There's about, I don't know, 60, 70,000 people in Galway City, and there's only so many you're going to get of that market. You're never going to obtain the full market, and nor do you want to. You're only a small producer. So what I found was I got my select crowd week in, week out. And I got my fan club, who really, really appreciate it. A lot of them were foodies, they were fitness fanatics, they had a good knowledge and understanding of agriculture and the food system, and the importance of buying local and buying and supporting the local farmer. So I was getting my type of crowd, but still, and I'm sure you see it, you're not going to get everyone. Like, people will come up to me, and like, I was selling a kilo of carrots for €3.50 last year. Now, they were class. They were the nicest carrots you'll ever eat. They had flavor. They were fresh out of the ground that day, and they look beautiful. But you can go into Aldi and buy a kilo of carrots for probably 89 cents. Brought in from Italy, no flavor. They
Wrapped in
look
plastic.
lovely in the bag. There's a nice shine off them, but there's no life in them. And they're I'm not going to get every type of customer. I'm not going to get the Aldi customer, who maybe has to wash the pennies and just want to feed the family when they go home in the evening. Essentially, I'm getting somebody who values food, who values eating, who values cooking, and who values good agriculture. That's my type of customer. And I'm happy with that. I'm a small producer. I don't need the thousands. I just need the hundreds to sustain my business. But in fairness, yeah, the word did spread. At the time, it was COVID heavy as well, and I think people had more time. Since then, I've noticed maybe a bit of a drop off in markets. I'm not doing as many markets anymore. I just physically I couldn't do it. I'm not getting any younger, and there's only so many eggs that'll keep me going in a day. But I've definitely noticed a drop off in the markets. The markets that I do now, they're just the crowds aren't as steady. They're not as strong. I think people they're back to the old schedule that's kind of up the walls, and they've no time. And whereas 2020 and 2021, Jesus, they were looking for something to do. They were killing time.
Yeah,
So
and they
they're
were.
just more than happy
It
to
was,
come
suppose,
out.
it was emphasized as well, Brian, to keep things local. I know we're probably restricted to keeping it local, but more so it was keep it local, and as a result of that, you were getting it fresh, and they were getting it fresh. And I'm a firm believer in always people getting things as close to home as they possibly can.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I obviously I'd sing the same tune all day long, and even more so now. Like to be honest, if you wound back 4 years ago into my life, Colman, I'd no clue about all this. I'd eat any old thing, that's the God's honest truth. I wouldn't have had the same understanding and education that I have now today, having, worked as a farmer now for 3 years, having read the books, having watch the videos. I have a much, much greater understanding on what's happening and how twisted the food system is, and how it's not sustainable. And if there's any weakness along the line, like, the whole thing could fall apart.
Yeah, well, I want
Um,
to maybe expand on that point. What's your thoughts, I suppose, Brian, on the likes of global warming and the way we're currently either producing food or getting our hands on certain types of food items on a regular basis in a typical large stores?
Well, in terms of food production, like Ireland, by the looks of it, produces beef, we produce milk, and we produce lamb. After that, if our global transport network was to shut down, we'd be on a rich diet of beef and lamb and milk. You know, there's no vegetables there. There's no balance whatsoever. And another thing as well, the best of all our beef is exported. The best of all our milk is exported. We have way too much milk production on this island. You know, there's no emphasis at all on vegetable production. Like the government are giving out grants there of a couple of €100 per acre, which is all designed to support the large scale monocrop type farmer, you know. So if if I was there doing half an acre of vegetable garden on the no dig style, the style that you'd replicate during your own season, and you know, their grant I was entitled to was €100, you know, like to encourage some lad to get into this line of business, you want to be given about 10 grand piggyback just to take that risk off you, you know, and even 10 grand at that, you know, it'll cover soil and wood chip and seed. But then you know, don't mind the tools and don't mind the van, and don't mind the insurance and don't mind the branding and the marketing and the packaging and the weighing scales and the stainless steel tables and the chiller to keep everything fresh and all the different containers to keep everything separated for the department, you know, like there's huge money that goes into it. So what I'm saying is basically that basically we've exported our food system. Like most of the food in the supermarkets today is imported. With that, basically the quality isn't there. You know, the food is there, it's on the shelf, but it wouldn't be of a high value. We don't know the conditions that food was grown in. You know, we don't know. Most of it is grown by slave labor in the south of Spain, there, South Africa, South America. You know, all this is grown with slave labor conditions, and that's how we can get your food so cheap. In terms of the soil conditions it's grown in, God only knows. You know what sort of conditions it's grown in. Yeah. Or what sort of chemicals or additives or fertilizers or herbicides they're adding just to make it pop out of the ground, and so they get it in the box and get some money on it, you know.
Yeah, I asked you that question just, I suppose, to let the listeners and the viewers know that kind of exact point. And we'll go back on to myself being a positive man, and so being the likes of yourself. Tell the listeners about the likes of your high quality, nutrient dense foods that I absolutely positively mad about. I'd have myself every day. Eggs, all right? Tell us about those.
Eggs are great. Eggs are class. Eggs are such an all-rounder. They're a wonderful food. Like eggs have all the good fats, you know, the omega-3 fatty acids. They have the protein, they have the vitamin A, the vitamin D, the beta carotene, the iodine, the iron. They're an all-rounder. They're just a class product. And what's more, I suppose, more important is the way I farm them with the pasture. You know, my technique of farming for the hens would be called pasture poultry. So all of my hens live in a mobile hen house. It's basically like moving a mobile home around your back garden. And there's a couple of hundred hens. Yeah, and they're shitting all over the mattress inside it. So that's all I'm doing. I'm bringing chicken shit all around the land. You know, you'll have the best flowers in Ireland when my birds are finished.
If you can sell it, you can sell it here. It could be another business. We'll talk about that later.
So anyway, yeah, my main business now is the eggs, and it's pastured poultry. So I have 5 mobile hen houses. We started building them. I started that enterprise last year, actually, about April last year. I got my first 300 hens, and today, now this evening, I have about 1,200 hens divided into 5 different hen houses. The last one we complete there about 2 months ago can house 500 hens. And just there a few days ago as well, a big thing for me is the Department of Agriculture have finally approved me, so now I can legally sell these eggs all around the country, well, wherever I want, basically. But I can sell them into retail outlets, you know, the shops, the restaurants, the bakers, the health food shops, you name it. So that's a great boost for me in the farm, because up to now I was just selling them directly, you know, to markets, and I was selling them on my farm shop as well, so customers could drive in and pick them up themselves in a self-service farm shop. But now I can go into Galway City and go up as far as Mayo and down to Clare, and we'll see what happens with it. But you know, it's a big deal for a small producer like me to get through all the hoops and barriers, a lot of red tape, a lot of regulations around the poultry business. And so they look at upholstery, but they look at my farm as if I'm a commercial hen farm. The same regulations apply, even though my system is totally different, you know. So they throw the same book of rules at me, even if I am here my 1,200 hens, you know, and the biggest my flock is 500, whereas they're giving me the same rules as if I had 10,000 hens. But anyway, we got through it. It cost money, and that's the thing, you know. It's difficult to get into the food system because it's so expensive. That's kind of my criticism of the food system in Ireland is it's hard for a young lad to get actually into it and to farm high quality, nutrient dense food because of the price of it. You know, I say if I added up all the money that I spent in the last 3 years, I'd say you're talking a minimum 150 grand.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. People would actually, they call you mad, but they would call you mad, like to go into a business like that. But it's something, it's a lifestyle, isn't it, Brian? Like you tell the lads that it is a lifestyle. There's no, whether the chickens don't mind, whether it's your birthday, it's the bank holiday weekend, it's St. Paddy's, it's Christmas, New Year's, they don't literally say, oh, Jesus Christ, we'll give Brian the weekend off there.
Yeah. He's been off good for us all week now. We give him a box of rolls now. Yeah, no, it's well, once again, like because I don't have farming in my background, it's not like I looked at my father growing up and him going out putting his bellies on in the morning. Like that wasn't the case, you know. I grew up in Galway City, you know, so I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, you know. I didn't realize it's a proper true vocation, like, you know. You hear that every day of the week, but especially with the hens now, because the hens is 7 days of the week. It's different now if you had sheep or cattle, you know. It's the management and the labor intensity is much less. But in saying that as well, the return on it is much less, you know. Like if I raised a cow now from calf to finishing slaughter weight, that could take 3 years. It takes 3 years to mature a cow. And that cow then, when you've everything paid for, you pay the butcher, you pay the slaughterhouse, you pay a lad to pack it, and you try and sell it, and you sell that cow directly, you're entitled to about 15 euros a kilo. You'll make about 2 grand back on that cow that took 3 years to mature. And if you sold that into the food system, you get 5 euros a kilo. That's why lads need handouts, because at 5 euros a kilo, you're not making a bob on that cow. With the egg, I found there is a bit more of a profitability in it. And that's the main reason I got into poultry. Well, that, and I had very little land to begin with as well. So the smaller the land mass you have, the smaller the animal you choose, you know. And the hen is a nice starter animal. It's very, very simple. There isn't much to a hen, you know. They need food, safety, shelter, and security, you know. If I lose a hen in the morning, it's not the end of the world. But if I lose a cow, it's a big deal, you know.
Yeah, and that point on that, Brian, is actually supporting people and buying directly from the farmer is going to get not only the best value for your and our sake, it's more so the fact that you're getting it straight from source and you're cutting out the middleman. And as a result of that, it's making it much more sustainable for the people producing these high quality, nutrients dense foods. And I suppose that's definitely, I just want, before we even wrap it up, Brian, we could be talking, and we will, I'd say, over maybe a creamy one in the near future. Just to let the listeners know a little bit more about where they can contact you directly or check out your social media platforms, Brian.
Good man, Colman. Well, Mad Yolk Farm is my Instagram. YOLK for the yolk of an egg, and that's mainly I'm on the Instagram. I'm actually just creating a new website at the moment that'll be launched in the coming days. So there's a new website, madyolkfarm.ie, with the www before it, and it's a pretty simple website, you know, just how I farm, who I am, and where you can get me eggs. I'm mostly in now that I got the egg production number, I'll be in shops and restaurants and health food shops all around Galway and Galway County as well, Galway City and County, and doing a little bit up in Westport, County Mayo. But yeah, the main thing is Instagram, and my farm is based in between Craughwell and Loughrea in County Galway. It's about 25 minutes from Galway City, and with the help of God, I'll be doing a few farm tours next year to show people where their eggs are coming from, how I farm them, and why my way is better than any other way. And then I suppose on top of that, we might have finished off even with a boiled egg.
Brian, I love it. And I always like the likes of the podcast by saying, stay tuned, stay classy,